Hi there, and welcome to a card making tutorial video from Cornflower Iris. In this video I'll be showing you how I made this congratulations card using some Altenew stamps. This was for the Color Throwdown challenge last week, with the colours light pink, dark pink and green, so I used some Tsukineko Memento ink pads in Angel Pink, Rosebud and Bamboo Leaves, with the Altenew Vintage Roses stamp set, still one of their most popular releases. I began with a 6x12 inch piece of 250 GSM white cardstock and scored this at 6 inches to make a 6x6 inch card blank. I made sure to burnish this fold really well, but this is a lovely weight of cardstock for a card blank. I drew some guidelines on the front just by using a ruler and lining it up across the edges of the card. This is going to help me with the placement of the flowers. So I'm using a stamp positioning tool that I made myself, and I'm stamping the first rose, just the base layer, in Rosebud ink. So these stamps are really great. You can use them with multiple different inks for the layers, or you can do what I'm going to do and layer some inks. So I'm simply using one colour of ink for every layer in one flower. This means that we get a tone-on-tone effect that's really gorgeous. Using a stamp positioning tool is really useful for this kind of technique, because for the base layer, which is a big stamp, often you can get kind of beads of ink building up, so by stamping it a second time we really smooth that out. For the next layers I'm using a printout that's available on the Altenew website to figure out how to line them up, but I'll show you that in a second. I'm going to do some masking today, so I'm using a post-it note simply over the flower again, and then stamping this just in one layer to create a mask. This is going to have a little bit of sticky on it, so that I can stick this over the image and stamp other images to make them look like they're in the background. Be careful to clean your stamps all the time with a baby wipe, it keeps them in tip-top condition. So I'm using this layering guide from Altenew to layer up the next layer, and this is a top flower on this sheet. Sorry about my head getting in the way. But I'm using the guide to line up where the red lines are, and then stamping the second layer in the same colour of ink. The stamp positioning tool means that I won't lose my position. You can see straight away what a striking effect you get, and I didn't even double stamp this second layer. For the third layer, it's exactly the same process. I've cut down a little bit of the footage so that you're not sat watching the same thing over and over. Making sure to press really firmly achieves really great results, and you can see the real definition that's coming out. But for this layer I wanted some extra definition, so I double stamped. This makes the ink much darker. I'm now cutting out the mask that I made, so I'm using some tonic Tim Holtz scissors and rotating the post-it note rather than the scissors, because this gives a nicer effect on the curves. So cutting really close to the edge, I've now got a nice mask that I can stick over that image, and now I can stamp over the top of it and it will look like the other images are in the background. So I'm using a different rose at the side, and I'm stamping this in the Angel Pink or light pink ink. So this is going to create some contrast. For the card design I've used groups of 3, which is kind of a standby for card makers. But for the rest of the card front I'm going to speed up the footage and put on some music and show you a montage. So I'll catch you back in a few seconds. that's how the card front was done. I hope you enjoyed that montage. Let me know what you think of the new video style in the comments description. So here I'm making an envelope. I originally cut a piece of 8 3/8 of an inch white cardstock from an A3 piece of card, and I'm using the 123 punch board, punching and scoring at 3.5 inches, and then burnishing all those fold lines to make a really nice and neat envelope. I'm sticking this together using red liner tape because this is a really strong adhesive, so I know it's not going to let the envelope fall apart later on. And it's also the right width that it doesn't show underneath the flap. To decorate the envelope, I'm simply using one of the roses in angel pink ink and stamping a few times. Now for the inside of the card I made a mistake. I lined up the sentiment "on your special day," but I left the green leaf from the envelope on the stamping tool. So here I go in with a sanding block and simply rub over this. So I'd seen people like Jennifer Maguire using some sanding erasers, but I hadn't been able to find those in the UK. So I wondered if a sanding block would do the same trick. And I can guarantee that by rubbing out some of this card on this thick cardstock, I couldn't tell afterwards that there was any ink there, and I couldn't tell that it had rubbed away any of the card either. So it does really work. So I stamped the flourish and "on your special day" on the inside, and that's the card coming all together and finished. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe got a little bit inspired. If you did, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more like this in the future. You can head over to my blog, check out all the links in the video description. Thank you again, and I'll catch you next time.